Welcome to Third Eyesight. You're speaking with Claudine Pucky, Psychic Medium. Hi guys, welcome to my second episode, and really grateful to be able to do this. Today's episode is going to be based on questions and answers. I just recently attended a psychic fair at the Crown Casino in Perth. There are around about maybe 30 to 40 participants that were various readers, astrologers, healers, clairvoyants, tarot readers. And I don't tend to do that so much. I tend to do it based on referrals, and I really, really liked it. I thought it was great. A lot of people interested. It was really, really busy. And I thought maybe I should do that a little bit more. But whilst I was there, I've probably been asked many questions before, and I tend to sort of maybe go over things or not really sort of embellish on certain situations. But because we were doing 10-minute readings, I had so many different questions, and I pack in so much information in that short 10-minute reading that people were quite blown away most of the time. So a lot of them tended to ask me some questions, and some of these questions that I am going to answer are from previous clients or still current clients that I have engaged in. So I think one of the main questions is, how did you get your gift? Because I have clients, and I've probably been doing readings now openly, and I say openly in the sense of I've been getting clients rather than just doing random readings for going around about 8 years, I believe now. So as I grew up, just so you have I'm going to go back and give you a basic idea of where it came from. So at the age of 5, I used to see spirits. My grandmother passed over, and my family had migrated to Australia. I already knew when she'd passed, but obviously at that time, because nobody around me practiced clairvoyancy, tarot cards, that I was aware of at the time, I sort of thought it was a bit weird and got a bit scared about the whole situation. So as I grew up, and obviously moving countries, New Zealand, we're very based on spiritual practices. We've always been told that our tupuna, our spirits, or our family that have passed over, will always be with us when we call them in. So we've always known that as a cultural practice, that once you pass over, you're always going to be with your family or always connected to your family in some way. They always guide us. They always hear us. They listen to us. They walk with us each and every day. So I guess coming from a very strong cultural background and moving into the Western world of Australia, which is different again, I did feel a little different, and I used to feel a lot more emotions connected to people when I'd be in big groups or different family events. But to me at that time, becoming a teenager, it was a bit like, okay, I don't really understand this. Things got quite emotional. So I used to get quite emotional in general. Things were very overwhelming, and I didn't really understand so much about who I was and where I belonged at that time. Obviously, all of us as a teenager, we're trying to get a grip on who we are and where we belong mostly in life. So I guess in answering the question, how did you get your gift? I first started at the age of 15 reading. I actually had the gift naturally. I didn't go to classes to get this gift. I already had it per se, but I didn't know how to use it. I wasn't aware that I actually had a gift. So I think the very first experience that I had, my parents sent me back to New Zealand to be a good child, I guess. And I had visited the cemetery where my grandmother had been buried, and where she's been buried, there are no headstones. as I was walking up the hill where she's buried on the top of this big hill. It was a really, really windy day. And I remember walking half. It was pouring with rain, windy day. You could see down the bottom of the street where it was a busy street. And I was standing on top of these steps. It was quite weird, actually. So I'm on this massive hill, standing on these steps, saying, look, hey, Nana, I'm here, while I'm standing on these steps. And remember, I'm on a massive hill, so I can see down below where there's a big highway down below, and I can, I'm quite high up. So picture there's like about 100 steps going down the side of this hill, and it's quite steep. And if I look up ahead on the hill, there's another 100 to 200 steps up the hill. It's windy, it's raining. I'm standing on this step midway between the top and the bottom of the hill. And I call out and I ask where she is. When I look down below my feet, the grass is quite long and it's moving sideways. I can see the rain. So it's, you can see the little bits of rain coming out. And it's, you can see the trees moving below me. But where I'm standing and looking up, there's a big tree at the top of the hill. There's no wind, no rain, and everything had stopped. At that time, I became so emotionally overwhelmed that I believed at that very moment that she had heard me. And that they all knew, that my tupuna and my family had heard me and knew that I was here and I was back. At that very moment in time, I believe my life changed. It was like I had remembered and all the emotional experiences and everything in my life had changed. So, I lived in New Zealand for another 2 years, made my way back to Perth, and decided to seek out different people training or different people, working on tarot cards, because at that time I believed, that's all I really knew, tarot cards. I felt things, I saw things, and I smelt things, which was really quite odd at the time. So I started to go to different people. Now, mind you, I have to say this. Just because you go to one person and they teach you one thing, it does not mean that that's the only way that things have to be done. So I had to search around and I found different people and I connected to some people, which made me feel really good, and I really listened and I learned and I developed. I took bits and pieces out of each different class, and also remember that I work 100 million miles away, so people either like me or they don't, which, I sort of figured out after a while. And I knew at that time too that I had to work on myself. So how did I get my gift? I naturally had it, but I had to figure out how it worked and how it worked for me by listening and working with other people. And then I could connect the pieces in order for me to enhance the current gift that I have. Now, I guess the second question is, and most people who come and see me, I give quite a lot of detail. So I can give detail down to the colour of the hair, to the sex, to the weather, the smell, the taste of food, colour of clothing, height, different quirky tattoos. And I can probably do quite a lot of detail if I could draw properly, and that's one thing I can't do. So one of the questions was, how do you get your information? So for myself, I receive information like a video, like a movie, and I see it like through my third eye. So I guess an example would be as well, every morning I open my third eye. So I literally picture in my mind that I physically have a third eye on my forehead. And that for me is like the cinema type, the cinematography. So all the movies come out through that, but I see it in my mind's eye. So for those people who have actually seen or come to see me for a reading, you'll also notice that I have a booklet of paper. And what I do is I write down, because my information comes in so fast and it doesn't come from one source, it might come from multiple sources, that I write everything down in order to connect the dots so that I can give you the information in sync. However, you can't leave it up to spirit all the time because they like to tell you what they want you to hear, not what you want to hear. So I do get my information through friends of the family, neighbours that may have passed over. I may be giving information to someone that you know that they couldn't connect to you, so they'll connect to somebody else that comes to me for the information. So I get multiple people giving me multiple bits of information. I have 5 different sectors. So I have work, health, finance, family, and love. I try to control the information and ask the spirits, is it work? Which one do you want to concentrate on first? So that's what I'll usually do. While I'm tuning into you, you're sitting here shuffling cards, which, by the way, I don't really need tarot cards. I just use them so that you relax and your mind is concentrated on it. And once you're doing that, your mind tends to open so I can actually attune myself to you and connect to you. And then usually I will try and figure out through spirit that start turning up where they would like to start first before you give me information. As soon as the person in front of me starts telling me their whole life story, I don't know whether it's me or you that's actually been giving it. So I always ask people not to give me any information whatsoever because it makes it easier for me to understand whether I have been listening to you or not. So I see the spirits behind you while I am giving you the information. And that's how they're giving it. So it's like they're talking to me and I can see them. Not all the time, just sometimes. It depends on who I'm reading for. If I'm doing a medical intuitive reading, which I usually do for most people anyway, when you come and see me, I look at you and I see a silhouette of yourself to the left or the right of you, and I can see where there's different issues. I will usually feel any medical problems that might arise. I will taste. I will start to feel aches and pains, and then I can picture it again in my mind's eye or on the silhouette of you on the left, where spirit will show me specific areas of your illnesses. And I guess really for me, nothing is the same every time. It depends on who I'm getting the information from and what spirit chooses to tell me at the time. So the third question that I have, and I've been asked, is how do you know how to say things about people? How do you know? Like, just how do you know it? And most people say it's like you've been a fly on the wall. How do you know these things? Like I tell most people when I get my information, if it's about your uncle or your auntie, it's usually coming from their mouth or someone that's known them. So they'll say it exactly how they were when they were alive. That's not going to be any different. I don't just randomly guess half of these things. It may seem like that, and often I will question myself, like, how do I know certain information, especially when it comes up to predictions. I will literally be sitting at a shopping centre or looking at someone, and then something will come to me out of nowhere, and what I will do is type it to myself and send it as a reminder to add it to something as one of my predictions. Yes, I do predictions and readings. Again, through spirit guides, I am guided, and usually through family members or and I do see quite horrific events in my mind, and sometimes